In the Wild West world of podcasting, there is one podcast that is authentic and genuine and continues to stand tall in its originality. Based on a passion for his guests, their work, and his love of podcasting, Derek Thomas and Monday Morning Critic Podcast get amazing, diverse, unique guests found nowhere else. The variety and quality are endless. There is something for everyone. Derek Thomas is the hero you deserve. He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector. Welcome to Monday Morning Critic Podcast. Here is Derek Thomas.
You are watching Cable 10, Aurora, Illinois Community Access Channel.
Wayne's World! Wayne's World! Party time! Excellent! All right! Woo! Welcome to Wayne's World!
My name is Wayne Campbell. I live in Aurora, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. Excellent. I've had plenty of Joe jobs. Nothing I'd call a career. Let me put it this way. I have an extensive collection of name tags and hairnets. Okay, I still live with my parents, which I admit is both bogus and sad. But at least I've got an amazing cable access show, and I still know how to party. But what I'd really love is to do Wayne's World for a living. It might happen. Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt. Ah, the Mirthmobile.
Penelope Spheeris is a wonderfully talented director whose filmography includes Decline of the Western Civilization, Suburbia, Black Sheep, and the iconic Wayne's World, which comes out February 1st on Blu-ray Steelbook, celebrating its 30th anniversary. Penelope, thank you for your kindness for being on the show. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it, Derek.
Yeah, so I want to kind of just, I think with all guests, it's really important to paint a backdrop, right? So people have an idea, especially yours, because I feel like your life growing up is certainly an immense part of who you've grown to be professionally, personally. I know that a carnival is a big part of your life. I know there's some early childhood trauma. I know Dad's killed in Alabama early on when you were 7. Talk about your early life, Penelope, and I know you've said this countless times in interviews, so just say whatever you're comfortable with. Talk about your early life and how that really plays into kind of who you are or who you were growing up.
Well, thank you for asking that. I am making a movie about my mom who ran away with the carnival when she was 19. And yes, you are correct. She, carnival guy that got murdered when I was 7 years old. I think when something like that happens to you at an early age, when you don't have the sophisticated mental ability to understand and comprehend it, that it really affects you your whole life. And I think having had that happen to me made me want to excel in the world. And I know that sounds like a weird dynamic, but it made me want to prove to the world that I was a good person, no matter what happened, back then, I can do well in the world. So one of my favorite sayings is, you never know if something's bad or good until some time has passed. And my difficult childhood kind of turned into just trying harder.
Yeah, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. You're the oldest of 4. Many times you're watching your siblings. I know that there's a lot of struggle involved, and I love how you phrase that. But, also as you're making your way through life, you take a variety of waitressing jobs, put yourself through film school, another impressive feat, UCLA nonetheless, MFA in theater arts. So another big part of your life, right? Anything you learn early on that fuels that part, because that's tough. Never mind, film school alone, I have to imagine, Penelope, is tough enough. Never mind putting yourself through it with multiple jobs, correct?
Yeah, I was working as a waitress at Denny's and IHOP, and I even took a job working in a strip club, not as a stripper,
right,
but as a waitress. And I quit because it was so creepy. But I mean, I never thought, oh, I'm going to be a successful film director. I never thought, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of money. I never thought that. And those two things were never really my goal.
No, yeah. Yeah, and
I just...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just watched the signs in the road, I like to say, and listened to people and picked up on little suggestions here and there. And no, I guess I made some correct decisions along the way because people watching Wayne's World, and I'm not starving to death, and I'm able to help all my friends and family, you know.
Yeah, and you know, you've often said you feel like you've had two careers, one in movies, one in music, and you know, we mentioned your wonderful documentary, The Decline of the Western Civilization. What a iconic one at that. You know, you combine your work with music and your work with movies, and we arrive, you know, there's much more that happens, but we arrive at Wayne's World, that it's released on February 14th, 1992. And again, by the time you get to Wayne's World, you have done a lot in your career. You've done a lot with your filmography. You know, it's not, you don't arrive with Wayne's World. You arrived long before that, right? So when you have the opportunity, when it all unfolds, how does it feel when you get the opportunity? Because where do you meet Lorne Michaels? Does that happen? Where does that happen in your life, Penelope?
Well, I'm going to say it was. I was thinking about that last night. I'm going to say it was around 73, and I was staying with some friends down at the beach, Topanga Beach. And I had a year-old daughter at that point, and I was making breakfast for everybody. I was making an omelet for Lorne, and he was sitting at the table reading the newspaper. He looked over at me, and he goes, you know, I think I'm going to go to New York and start a live comedy show, maybe even on Saturday night. And that was the first time I ever heard of SNL. And he asked me to go to New York with him when finally got the show going, but I didn't want to because I had the young daughter, and they decided I would stay in Los Angeles. And he said, well, if you stay here, would you mind helping me if I need any work done out here? And I said, and so that's when I got involved with Saturday Night Live and shooting Albert Brooks movies and everything. And said, I got this really funny guy, and he doesn't want to be a player on the show, but he wants to have his own. Lorne talks so funny. He wants to have his own movies on the show, and I said, well, I want to have my own movies on the show too. He goes, well, tough shit, Penelope. Yeah. He goes, just teach Albert how to make a movie. Okay, I did that, and then Albert was cool enough to hire me as the producer on his first feature. And he was such a pain in the ass, to be honest with you, that I decided I didn't want to be a producer. I wanted to be a director. That's what I decided, is working with him.
Yeah. And for those listening, you were Judd Apatow years before he arrived on the scene. I mean, you were that person, and still are. Your background, your vision, your experience, you're the perfect and only person capable of directing Wayne's World. And having rewatched it numerous times, this movie never looks dated. It never looks old. I have to say, Penelope, comedies today, I will probably laugh 2 or 3 times, maybe 4.
I know.
Right. Wayne's World, I think it's probably in excess of 150 times, if not more.
I know. Isn't that crazy? I mean, well, I don't want to put down, current comedy film directors. But then again, I do. Yeah. Because they're not as funny, in my opinion, as they used to be. And I keep thinking, wait a minute, has humor changed? What happened?
Yeah.
I don't even watch them, to be honest. Don't watch current day comedy.
And there's none to really watch because I can't, like, if you had me list, and this is not a shot at anybody, but if you had me list 5 that I saw in recent memory that are really good, I'd have a tough time, doing that. But, I love the way Wayne's World is shot. It's a semi-documentary style. It's for those listening, the most successful SNL adaptation ever. Second is like Blues Brothers, but it's far and away.
Right.
And before we talk a little bit about the movie, I did want to say rest in peace to Meatloaf, Marvin Lee 80.
My gosh.
Just a big loss, huh, Penelope?
Oh my gosh, yes, and way sooner than it should have been, But I tell you something. I always say the good ones go first. I tell you, he was such a sweetheart, and I was very thankful that he agreed to do that little tiny part in Wayne's World. He was a friend of mine in the clubs. We used to always hang out back in the 80s,
Yeah, and another great scene. Talk about scene that he's in. Another laughable moment is when he's telling Wayne, who's playing for cover bands, and they say one of the bands is the Shitty Beatles. That's great.
I think Mike came up with that one.
Yeah, it's just like I said, and I'm not trying to patronize you. It's legitimately like it's just one laugh after another. So let me ask you, there's something really beautiful about Garth and Wayne, their honesty, their innocence. What do you think it is that people gravitate to? Even 30, I can't believe I'm saying the number 30 right now at you, right? So 30 years later, we're looking at this absolutely iconic movie. I mean, it is by far the best movie comedy to come out of the 90s. There's no question. But what is it that
well, thank you.
Yeah, what is it that people see in these two, you think, Penelope, that obviously it's a team effort. There's a lot more involved than just, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, but what is it about the gentle nature of their rapport, the innocence? What is it?
Well, that's a complicated question, but I believe that it has to do with the fact that today, 30 years later, life is so much more complicated and stressful. If you watch Wayne's World, you can get your head wrapped around life being exuberant and joyful and fun, and I think that's what happens is people watch it even now and go back to those carefree days. It's, when you're younger, you really don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, and Wayne and Garth, even if they had problems, they made a joke out of it, and they had all the right intentions. They were great characters, and you really got to give Mike and Dana credit for creating those characters because they were the embodiment of just like the joy of life,
Yeah.
And watch that now, and they feel good again. But I think the thing about it that makes it so lasting is the fact that also these guys, Wayne and Garth, were just really happy being average guys, just being gay guys, and that's okay. And people watch it and go, okay, well, it's okay to just be an average dude,
Yeah, take joy in the little things, absolutely. But another great mark of a great movie and comedy is how quotable it is, right? From anything from like swing to that's what she said, as if, not. Like all the lingo that we now use came from this movie, and that's another ultimate sign of a movie's impact on society, I feel like.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it was pretty astounding when I heard Barack Obama say, "No way." I'm like, dude, the president's talking like Wayne.
In a wonderful cast, right? In a wonderful cast. When I was rewatching it multiple times this weekend, knowing I was going to speak with you, I really feel like I missed it, because I watch this movie routinely, but I really forgot how wonderful Laura Flynn Boyle was. Like, she was so good.
Yeah.
you know, and it's like one of those things that when you rewatch it, then you really figure out, wow, this is just the whole cast is unbelievable. I did want to ask you a few questions about Black Sheep before I let you go. I think there's a lot to this. You know, I feel like when it comes to Black Sheep, I think it's the most underrated movie to come out of the 90s. But then you read the things here and there. You know, and not to get too serious, before I step into Black Sheep quickly, you know, you went through a lot of BS, I feel like, right? And if I'm wrong in any of this, please correct me, Penelope. I feel like you went through a lot of BS, whether it's negativity, whether it's the shadiness and horrendousness of the Weinsteins. And I almost feel like, and I want to phrase this carefully, I think you love what you do as a person who loves music, a person who loves movies. I don't want to say beat it out of you, but I feel like they made it not fun for you anymore, movie making. And that disheartens me to read that. Am I looking at that correctly?
Oh, you are so sweet for saying that. And I'm going to have to be honest with you and agree.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I just did not want to be at the mercy of the system anymore. And I didn't want to go to one more meeting where I know they're not going to hire me because Harvey bad rapped me or whatever, you know. I got to a point where I would rather say goodbye to Hollywood than have Hollywood say goodbye to me. So fuck you. That's where I went.
and one thing I love about you is you're so blunt and to the point. In a time, you know, it's like I feel like in life, Penelope, like whether it's I'm talking to a guest or just in my normal life, like just say what you want to say. Stop beating around the bush. Stop sure, just say what you mean.
That's right. Well, I always do.
Yeah,
people say that about me all the time. They say, "Oh, we never have to wonder what Penelope's thinking because she just says it."
Yeah, and that's good. And that's the way it should be. Just like as I was saying about Black Sheep, I really feel it's the most underrated movie to come out of the 90s. Why do you think Chris Farley was so beloved?
Well, he for a lot of reasons, really. I mean, he was a profoundly talented actor and comedian, and he was. I think when it comes right down to it, it wasn't his physical agility and all that he had going for him, but it was more his heart and soul and his shyness. You know, very shy person and insecure and sensitive. You know, and Lorne told me that when we started working together. He goes, "You're going to have to handle this guy with kid gloves because he's really, really." Fragile, you know, and Chris and I got along really, really well, and never ever had a point of disagreement. And he actually said to me one day, Derek, he said when we were shooting, he said, "You know, I love John Belushi so much that I want to live my life like John, and I want to die like John."
Oh, that's so heartbreaking.
I remember. I pushed him on his chest. We were standing under a tree. I pushed him on his chest, and I said, "Don't you ever say that again. That is horrible." And he wasn't laughing or anything, and he did it, you know. Tragic.
Yeah,
so tragic.
It's heartbreaking. And I had two final questions for you, one of which is, you know, and I hate negativity. I don't bring it up, but I'll bring it up here just because it fixes context. You know, David Spade said that you never bought into two of them as a team. I just think that's just BS because I believe you are a filmmaker.
Did I never say that again, huh?
He said that I thought he said in his book that you never bought into the two of them as a team, the two of them as a team. He made the point that you were all in on Chris, but not the two of them as this dynamic duo of comedy.
I love that. I didn't even know he wrote a book, first of all. Second of all, he's absolutely right that when we were shooting, I did, in fact, favor shooting more takes with Chris than I did with him. And I actually have a recording of David ripping me a new you-know-what on my answering machine, telling me that I was breaking his comedy balls and he didn't like working with me and what a, jerk I was and all that. And you know what? Too fucking bad, because Chris, in my opinion, really, I needed to get as much as I could out of Chris. And David was a little bit like, he is his character, he's just a pissed off little shit,
You stole my next question. I was going to say that smarminess doesn't seem like it's an act. It seems like it's just the same guy on and off camera.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad at him, I don't hate him. It's just that it's like, whatever, David. Him and Rob Schneider, I'll have to be honest with you, both of them were complaining I didn't give them enough close-ups. Well, I didn't think I needed them, and if they don't like me as a director, I don't give a flying fuck.
I'm going to tell you this. I love you as a director, so how about that?
Well, thank you. At least I got one fan.
No, you got more than that, I can tell you that. My last question before I let you go, thank you for all this time. This is an unfair question, but because it's coming out February 1st, I am so excited. Steelbook's so excited for the Wayne's World Edition 30th anniversary. What's your one of, I won't say your favorite, but one of your favorite memories that maybe people might not know about of Wayne's World?
My favorite memory is being at the Village Theater in West at our opening night and seeing 1,000 people sitting in that audience and laughing continually, and it was like the whole room was high. They were really, really loving the movie. And I walked out into the lobby and I just, looked up to the ceiling and went, thank you, God. I couldn't believe it, and that's probably my fondest memory.
Yeah, and years later after that, you've been at many screenings where thousands of people showed up and just gone nuts. So you are a true genius, and I'm so blessed to say that I've seen your work and that I adore your work. And thank you for taking some time out of your day to speak with me, Penelope. You're such a great person and such a wonderful talent.
Well, my goodness, gosh, I'll talk to you anytime because people don't talk to me like that usually, but I love
it. Thank you for listening to Derek Thomas and Monday Morning Critic Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you can also connect with Monday Morning Critic on Instagram and Facebook, MDM Critic on Twitter, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found. All episodes available, www.mmcpodcast.com.